Are you tired of making video games that feel slow and sluggish even at high speed? Well, look no further because in this video, I'm gonna show you how to give the feeling of speed to your game without really changing the speed. Recently, I posted a video on Reddit featuring 2 gameplay clips of my video game, which gained a lot of attention. Despite the car on both clips having the same speed, viewers will unquestionably feel a greater sense of speed in the clip on the right. That's why this is something that most game developers should know, and I think it's really important to show you how it works. You'll notice that there are many things that people believe they understand or seem obvious, but in reality, they're not. I'm Anzi, and today I'm gonna show you how to give the feeling of speed to your game. Alright, so here we are. For this video, I will be using Unity, but most of the things I will explain are totally valid in any other engine. In our scene we have a car, a road, and a train. So as you can see, it's very basic. The only thing you must know is that I added a controller to the car, so I can move forward and backward. Let me show you how it looks. So yeah, very simple, right? I won't go really deep in the car controller. The only thing you must know is that we have a method called getSpeed that allows me to get the current speed of the car in any other script. So it doesn't matter what kind of controller you have, whether it's a character controller, a car controller, or even a spaceship controller, as long as you have the getSpeed method, it will work. So, how can we improve the feeling of speed of our game? First thing off, we can notice that the 2 things that are moving in our game are the mountains far from here and the speedometer. When we're in motion, our eyes send information to the brain about how objects are moving relative to our position. The closer an object is to us, the faster it appears to be moving. That's why nearby objects appear to pass by more quickly than those who are further away. This is also why in many video games we can see a lot of different objects alongside the road. You might think that these objects are here to make the game pretty, but in fact, they also have a real purpose behind. So let's fix our scene by placing some objects alongside the road. For this demo, I will create a script that will place a lot of objects for us. So let's go into code and let's create a script called Object Placer, but you can call it whatever you want. So in our script, we'll add a public list of game objects that we'll place in our scene. Then we had a public int variable that will be the number of the objects we will place. And finally, we had a vector tree that will be the spacing between each game object we'll place in the scene. In the start method, we take the initial position of the objects containing the script. Then we iterate from 0 to number of objects to place, and for each iteration we take the last position of the object we placed. We select randomly one of the objects we have in our list and we place it relative to the spacing variable. Also, note that the performance of the script are really bad, so don't use it in your final game. Here, it will be fine because it's just a prototype and the purpose of the video is just to explain how to give the feeling of speed in a game. Back in Unity, let's create the Object Placer game object. And let's add the Object Placer script we just created. In my case, I will add some trees in the Object Placer script. As you can see, I already have some 3D models of trees. Click on this icon to lock the inspector. Then select all the trees and place them in the list of game objects. Don't forget to click again on the icon to unlock the inspector. Awesome! We can see that we have some trees in our scene, but as you can see there is a big issue, so let's fix that. Now we have some trees on the left of the road. Let's add a little bit more of them. Then we can rename the object placer to left trees. We duplicate it, rename the new game object to right trees, and we place it to the right. Great. And by the way, if you don't like to create a lot of game objects when we start the game, you can also run it one time, then select the trees, place them into your project, it will create a prefab, then stop the game and drag and drop the prefab you just created into your scene. Don't forget to remove the object placer script from your game object, and you can also mark it as static, it might also slightly improve the performance. In my case, I will stick with the previous system. But you know what? I think we can do better. Sometimes it's not possible to place objects alongside the road. So what can developers do is to play with the texture on the ground or on the wall by creating a repetitive pattern that will give some kind of scrolling effect to recreate the feeling of speed. Be careful though, if the texture is too big, it will feel slow, and if the texture is too small, we won't be able to see it at high speed, so you must adjust it carefully. Back in Unity, let's try to modify our road material. I will change the material's properties to make some dashed line appear on the road. And by the way, if you would like the same material, I will put a link at the description for the tutorial. As I said, it's important to make them not too big nor too small. Okay, let's try it out. And wow, we can already see a huge difference. There is two clips, the first one is the beginning of the video, and now we have the current state of our game. What you must remember is that just by changing a little bit your environment, you can make a huge difference to the feeling of speed for your game. But that's not all. In fact, you can also add multiple effects to your game to improve the feeling of speed even more. Let me show you how it works. Before we continue, I would just let you know that we are currently 16 on my channel, and that would be awesome if we could reach at least 30 subs after this video, so please subscribe. Feel also free to give me some feedbacks, but please be kind, it's my first video. Alright, let's get back to work. The first effect we can apply is the manipulation of the field of view. If you go under CinemaScene's property, you can modify the FOV. A wider FOV typically provides a greater peripheral view, allowing more of the environment to be visible on the side of the screen. This can create a sense of increased speed because the brain is processing a larger number of objects, making them appear to move faster as they pass by. Thankfully, this value can easily be changed in a script. Go under Code, Scriptable Objects, and create a script called SpeedEffectBase. The goal of this script is to group fields and methods that will be available in every effect, since the manipulation of the FOV is not the only effect we'll create. The first thing you can do is remove the start and update method because we don't need them. Don't forget to replace Modo Behavior by Scriptable Objects. Add the abstract keyword between public and class. That means that we cannot create SpeedEffectBase by itself. it will be inherited by another class or something. The first method that we'll need in any other speed effect is the init method. So let's create an abstract method. Once again, it means that there is no init method in speed effect base. It will be implemented in every subclasses. The init method will be useful to initialize things, obviously, but also get some references from the scene or whatever. The second abstract method we'll need is the evaluate method. It will be responsible for taking the speed and apply more or less the effect based on that. Finally, every speed effect will need an animation curve in order to be able to modify the effect from the editor. I know it can sound blurry for the moment, but don't worry, after another script we'll create, it will be clear. Now that we created the speed effect base script that will group every field and method we need, let's create the SE Camera FOV script. SE stands for speed effect, of course. Once again, you can delete the start and update method. And replace mono behavior by speed effect base. At this moment, you should have an error because the init and evaluate method we defined in speed effect base are not implemented in SE Camera FOV. So, to remove this error, just create two functions, evaluate and init. Now we can start implementing the logic behind. So let's start by creating a private reference to Cinemachine's virtual camera. You will have an error, so just add using Cinemachine on top of the script. This is going to be a reference to the Cinemachine virtual camera in order to modify the FOV later. Then add the private float field of view initial value. The goal of this private field is to register the initial value of the field of view when we start the game. Now, let's initialize everything in the init method. So first, the Cinemachine virtual camera. We are going to find the reference to the Cinemachine's camera by using find game object with tag Cinemachine. Then we get the component Cinemachine. Finally, for the field of view, we can get it from the Cinemachine component by using m_lens.fieldofview. Now, in the evaluate method, we are going to take the speed and pass it to the speed2effect animation curve we declared in speed effect base. This will give us the value, which is the amount of effect we want to apply to our game. Then, all we have to do is to add it to the current field of view value of the Cinemachine's component. Finally, we want to be able to create the scriptable object from the editor. So, add the create asset menu attribute on top of the class. Alright, now that everything is set up, let's create our first speed effect from the editor. I will go under Data, Scriptable Objects, then right-click, select Create, Scriptable Objects, Speed Effects, and Camera FOV. You can notice our animation curve speed2effect. Let's open it. From here, you will be able to decide how much of the effect you want to apply based on the speed. It can sound a bit strange or complicated at the beginning, but trust me, it's very simple. In my case, I will right-click on the point and edit the key. I will set the x-axis to 200 because 200 is the highest speed we can reach in our game. And I will set the y-axis to something like 30, for example, because I want my field of view to go from 60 to 90, so I must add 30 to be able to reach this value. If we zoom out, we can see our curve. I can double click in the middle and bring it out a little bit because I don't want to have too much of this effect to be applied at the beginning, but I wanted more at the end. As you can see, animation curves are a really useful property when we want to apply an effect progressively. Awesome! Now we have our scriptable object. We know how much of the effect we want to apply at the runtime, but we don't have any script that will do the job to apply this effect at runtime. So let's create this small script. I will call it Speed Effect Applier, but once again, you can call it whatever you want. The script is going to be really simple, trust me. You just need a public reference to our car controller, a public list of speed effect base, and I say speed effect base, be careful. On the start method, for each effect, we'll call the init function. On the update method, we'll get the speed of the car by using the getSpeed method from our car controller, and for each speed effect, we'll call the evaluate method. Let's create a game object and add the speed effect applier script. Give it a reference to the car controller, and in the speed effect list, we'll add the camera FOV. Let's see what it looks like from now. And wow, it's going so fast. I'm really happy about the result. And the best part is that it's going fast progressively. Let's say I would like to have a more linear progression. I can easily edit my curve, and that's it. So I can edit and manage all my effects in the same place. And that is the beauty of this method. And just to show you how easy it is to add another effect, let's add camera shake effect. When we are at high speed, we can add a little bit of camera shake to make the car feels a little bit out of control. But once again, we would like to apply this effect progressively. So let's create another speed effect script. To do so, on our Cinemachine virtual camera component, we can add some noise. Let's choose 6D shake. And you can see that we have two properties, amplitude and frequency. These two fields are used to control how much of the effect we want to apply. Once again, I will go under Code, Scriptable Objects, and create a script called SE, once again for speed effect, camera shake. So, just like before, in my script I don't want to inherit from model behavior but speed effect base. I will have an error obviously because I don't have the init and evaluate method. So to get rid of this error, I will add these two methods. We add a private reference to Cinemachine virtual camera. Don't forget to add using Cinemachine on top of the script to avoid any error. Then we need two public floats to manipulate the amplitude and the frequency. On the init method, we will get the reference to the Cinemachine virtual camera just like before. We pass the speed to our animation curve to get the rate value, and we multiply it by the amplitude and frequency multipliers to get the amplitude and frequency we will apply. Then, to add the shake, we'll get a reference to the noise by using getCinemachine component, and we set the amplitude and the frequency by the value we just calculated. Now go back under Data, Scriptable Object, right click, select Create, Scriptable Objects, Speed Effects, and Camera Shake. Now we can edit our effect. So let's give it a name. Let's edit the curve. So let's say that I would like my multiplier to be 1 at 200. You can close and open up the window once again to get a better view. And as you can see, at 200 units per second, we will have 1. Let's just bring it out a little bit in the middle to have a better progression. And for the amplitude and frequency, I will set them to 1. In other words, when we'll be at 0 units per second, we'll have no shake, and at 200 units per second, we'll have 1 on the frequency and 1 in the amplitude. Let's add it to our list of effects. And don't forget to enable the noise in the Cinemachine component. Alright, let's see what it looks like. And wow, I really like the feeling now. As you can see, the system is very versatile. You can easily create, modify, and adjust any speed effect for your game. To end up this video, I won't go deep into another script for a speed effect, but I just would like to show you how easy it is to add some VFX to your game that would come up progressively once again with the same system. Here, I created some speed lines using VFX Graph. Let's say I would like to make them appear progressively based on the speed of the car. With this tiny script and using the same logic than before with an evaluate and an init method, I can easily make any VFX graph appear progressively. As you can see, once again, I created a new scriptable object for the VFX graph. I added my own curve. In this case, I would like this effect to appear more at the end. That's why the curve is like this. I selected the game object I want to put my VFX on, and I added a prefab containing my VFX. And when I hit play, I can see some speed lines appear progressively based on the speed, which is a really nice effect. Now, with this system, you have a nice base to start implementing your own effects, whether it's radial blur, motion blur, sound effects, particle effects, whatever you want. I can't enumerate them all, but it's up to you to create them now. So that's it for this video. I hope that you enjoyed and it wasn't too long or boring. I had a lot of trouble during the video creation process and also with my voice, so it was hard to record it. Still, I'm looking for feedback, so if you have anything to say, any suggestion for a video or for whatever, feel free to drop a comment. I'm still a beginner on YouTube, so please be kind. And yeah, I think that's all, so Thank you for watching and see you next time.